What's going on, everybody, and welcome. It's early. I'm stretching. That's what you do when it's early in the morning. Anyway, I figured I would go live to all the platforms. I've got like the beginnings of a sty in this eye, so you're going to see me blink a lot. I don't know why it's happening, but it's really annoying. And they're painful, but whatever. It is what it is. But I decided to go live to all the platforms today because there's just a lot of news. There's a lot of news that's going on. So in addition to, our hidden page on theangryturnip.com, we're live everywhere because, well, I think we should be live everywhere. Hopefully we are. I don't know, but maybe we are. But oh man, it's been interesting. I got to start off first because I got a couple of messages and I know Jersey J got duped into this. There is a trucker protest that was supposed to be scheduled in front of Fox News this morning. Here's a little news flash. Many of you guys may or may not know, when I first started doing the live streaming thing, I was known as Freight Broker Live. I've worked in transportation for, 15, 16 years. In fact, I still own a freight brokerage. And although I haven't moved freight in years, but one of the interesting things about the freight industry is every year or so, there's always people that complain about the industry that don't understand it, right? And they always talk about, let's go out and protest and rates are low. It's because of freight brokers and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't have anything to do with the economy or anything like that. They always just believe it's something else. Well, apparently, and there's been protests for a long time. Many who've been watching my show for a long time know that I covered the May Day protest back before all the riots and stuff happened. The May Day protest took place in it was in May for 21 days, I believe, in DC when Donald Trump was in office. Now, the truckers went there and protested because of low rates. They protested thinking the freight industry, that freight brokers, which are third-party people that hire truckers to move stuff around for shippers, that they were price gouging and all these weird complaints that they had, right? None of which were actually based on fact because they didn't focus on like actual issues that could be fixed, like the lack of trucker parking, the fact that detention rates are the same as they are. They're the same now than they were, when I started in the industry 15, 20 years ago. It's kind of crazy. But there's always people that get the trucking base riled up, right? And so all these truckers then go together and they plan this big elaborate trucker protest. But the problem with that is they very rarely ever get off of the ground, ever. And with the May Day protest, there's this joker named Rick Santiago, right? Now, Rick Santiago is someone that he's from New Jersey. He's a trucking guy, trucks, and then he wants to be a broker. And then he does this and he started a trucking company and he's some big executive, blah, blah, blah. He has been, pretty vocal in the trucking industry for some time, except he doesn't know anything about trucking, it's really weird, right? Because you shouldn't be vocal in an industry unless you know about like how it actually works. So he believes that freight brokers are price gouging. He believes all this weird shit. And he was big on the trucker protest in May. and I kept getting mad when I would talk about the trucker protest because there are reasons. Kind of remember the People's Convoy? That a lot of the people that were part of the May Day trucker protest in May of 2020 were the same people like Mike Landis and the other people, same people that were involved in the original People's Convoy before it went all like anti-COVID, blah, 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 blah. Right. So it was a lot of those people that have had an interest in trucking. They've run some trucking organizations and all that stuff. But anyway, Rick Santiago was someone that kind of appeared out of nowhere and he was spouting a lot of shit and he was getting a lot of people to pay attention to the trucking industry, but he wasn't paying attention to what actually happens in trucking. And he, his statement that freight brokers were price gouging is stupid because there's literally freight brokers don't dictate what the market is. The carriers do. They're the ones who accept the load. So if a freight broker doesn't sell a load to a carrier for a certain amount of money, then that freight broker has to pay more money. You know what I mean? So it's such an ass backward system because a lot of people believe that freight brokers are the one that dictate the rates, which they're not. It's shippers and carriers. because if a shipper isn't going to pay enough, the carrier is not going to take it. And if the carrier doesn't think that the broker is paying enough, they're going to not take the load, right? That's in theory how it's supposed to work, but apparently it's not. And we're back at that point now. So anyway, this cat named Rick Santiago jumped into the trucking scene at kind of out of nowhere. It looks, I used to do a whole bunch of research on this guy, and he did like a bunch of weird videos and scammed a bunch of people. There's like pages literally devoted to him on Facebook for scamming people and all sorts of weird stuff. But whatever, that doesn't matter. What is funny is he talks about the trucking industry like he actually has some knowledge in it, and he doesn't. Right. So the May Day protest, I actually drove from Florida up to DC to confront him in front of the White House because I'm like, dude, you're a fraud. You don't understand trucking. You don't understand anything. Why don't you go home and let someone else be the mouth of this thing so something can actually get done? And that was captured on video. And so a lot of the truckers there, even though I was a freight broker, I earned respect from truckers because they had the same thing. Now, like many trucker protests, let me give a background here. Like many trucker protests, they start off really well intended and then they fall apart, usually before they even get to where they're going to protest. It's just the way it is, because the majority of truckers aren't, even though they may have gripes with the system, they can't afford to go park their truck, or they can't afford to deadhead their truck, paying the full fuel for the truck to go into a city and pay the entrance, the tolls and parking and, all, they just can't afford it. So a lot of people on social media on the trucking side are always like really amped up. But when it comes to like actual action, they never show up. Truckers have been doing these slow rolls. There's a group on Facebook, which is a really good group if you care about trucking, called The Disrespected Trucker. And that company is, or that page is run by, or it used to be run by someone named Jeremy, who's been big on the trucking industries, right? So, and some of the plights of the trucking industry, although then they got kind of carried away with the COVID thing, but whatever. The funny thing is this Rick Santiago guy apparently reappeared and said that there was going to be a trucker protest to protest poor rates and the rising fuel costs. All valid reasons, right? Rates are down. FedEx is furloughing employees. FedEx Freight in peak season. Like it's for if you're involved in the freight industry right now, you should be like, what the fuck is going on? Because the diesel prices are still through the roof. The national average for the Northeast outbound freight right now is $231, which is bullshit. Those rates right now should be much, much higher because we're leading up to Christmas, right? This is when trucks should be busy. And if these rates stay low, and all the freight forecasters are saying the same thing. Long story short, without getting too nerdy about the trucking industry, the thing that's interesting is this Rick Santiago guy mysteriously appeared again. And he's talking with his jagged tooth and all that because he's got a broken tooth in the front. And I'm not picking on his teeth. I don't have perfect teeth. It's just you may not recognize the name, but you recognize the tooth. So he apparently appeared again on social media talking about how there's going to be this big trucker convoy and protest outside of Fox News. And it was going to take place today, January 14th at 5 a.m. And they were going to go there and they were going to honk their horns and they were going to get the national media to pay attention to the plight of truck drivers. And they talked about fuel. They talked about, brokers. And then they talked about this thing. And I'm not even getting into it, about railroads and interstate commerce agreements with the federal government, blah, blah, blah. It's stuff that really weird people, choose to believe is the precursor for all of their issues. But long story short, they planned this big ass protest, right? And they're all like, yeah, it's gonna be great, yeah. Nobody showed up. Nobody showed up. And maybe they were all deflected off of social, or off of the interstate, and the cops shut it down. I don't know, but there wasn't a single truck in New York City this morning. And it's just a testament. Someone sent it to me for the past couple of days. Sean in Jersey sent it to me. A couple other people that have been watching since I was talking about trucking all the time, they all sent it to me, and they're like, look what Rick's up to now. And I'm like, this is bullshit. Nothing's going to end up happening. But hey, it's cool. Truckers should be going out and protesting because rates are low. Shippers. Here's the thing, is the rates from shippers are low as shit because right now there isn't as much freight as there should be. The load to truck volumes here, watch. Yeah, you guys want to see some shit? Like here, because like I said, I'm still a freight broker, so I have access to all the fancy software. Here are the national van rates. right? So you see 231, 230, 232. These are fucking low rates. Let's look at let's just view the trends for this thing. Spot load rates, look at this, the month over month, October versus September. The load posts are less than 10% of what they were last month, which is that's crazy. Van load to truck, this means that every load for every truck there are this many loads. It's down 47% from where it was a year ago. We're leading into peak season. If you think we're not in a recession, guess the fuck what? They may not want to say we're in a recession. The trucking industry is screaming, we're fucked. That's what the trucking industry. And you can see flatbeds are down, reefers down, everybody's down year over year. Now, what's interesting is what I wanted to do real quick, and these are posted rates. So this is from the DAT load board. Again, you got to be a broker to have access to any of this, or a carrier. But I wanted to look up rates from, say, California to zone 1, which is Massachusetts, Maine, New York, Pennsylvania, like that whole area. That's zone 1. And well, actually, I could show you zone 1 on that map that I showed you a minute ago. Well, whatever, it doesn't matter. Look at some of these rates. This is 2,700 miles, $5,200. And these are posted rates, so there's usually a little bit more play in them. Vallejo, California to Pittsburgh, 2,500 miles, $5,700. This is like, $2.10 a mile. Like, these are low freaking rates, and this is just dry van. And so normally what you could see if you're looking at California versus, from California to Jersey or Jersey to California, the rates reverse, right? So typically you would see the rates if say California to New Jersey is paying $2 a mile, then the rate going from Jersey to California would be like $3 a mile, right? And it gives you an all around average of whatever the national average is. That's not the case now. When you actually go into these and you look at these rates, so that's it. Some of these are different, but look at Long Island to California. It's essentially 3,000 miles, $5,500. It's less than $2 a mile. If you look at Philly to California, $4,750. And again, these are posted rates that you could probably get them $500, $600, $700, $800 more if you do it. But some of these are the book it now rates, which is insane. Shipping Master, this is $53.39, a heavy ass load. 24, so that's like what, $225 a mile going back and forth. These are bad rates. These are really bad rates. So like if you're in the trucking industry, you have an honest gripe when you complain about freight rates because, well, the rates are low. But you have to look at why. Why are the rates low? It's because the shippers are sitting on a huge amount because they ordered all this product over the past year. That's why shipper load volumes are way down, because they have all this stuff. They have all this stuff sitting in their warehouses. Everyone is flushed. They're not going to need trucking, and that's why FedEx Freight, huge trucking company, they have, I think it's 40,000 drivers. They're asking employees to voluntarily furlough in the beginning of peak season, which means essentially layoff. But you got to be careful. If you work for FedEx and you're voluntarily furloughing, you want to make sure you check your state's unemployment laws too, because you may not be eligible for unemployment in some states. Like Pennsylvania is one where it's a little bit hairy. If you take a voluntary furlough, meaning you still keep your benefits and all that stuff, but you lose your pay, you may not be eligible to get unemployment in some states. So make sure you pay attention to that. But isn't that kind of crazy that yet another trucker protest doesn't materialize? And I'm not trying to say it to be like, ha, ha, ha. No, I'm trying to say it's kind of sad in our reality, because all these independent truckers, they can't unionize. Everyone knows about Teamsters and all that. Teamsters are an anomaly, right? They're not involved in everyday trucking. Sure, you got the TIA, which is the Transportation Intermediaries Association. They are like the big ones in trucking. They're the ones who lobby the government for all the regulations on truckers because they're brokers. They want to make the barrier of entry harder for you to get into the industry. So therefore, they could charge more, because the more trucks you have, the less expenses you have. It's really weird per truck, right? So the national average back in 2020, the national cost to operate a truck, including fuel, meant for you as an employer to break even was $1.84 a mile. And we just showed those rates right now. And that's with the big carriers of 500 or more trucks. We just showed that. Remember where it said 234? Now imagine, and that's when diesel prices were at like $3. The national average price to operate a truck now is probably sitting around $250. and the rates aren't even paying that. So you know that truckers are losing money, which is why they're laying people off. There's no actual trade organizations that go out and benefit the small trucking carriers. Nobody does. The TIA doesn't because they're broker centric. OOIDA, they're focused, even though they're the owner operators, whatever trucking association, they're not hyper focused on small trucking. They're more hyper focused on selling their insurance products and doing this and doing that. And there's a couple others. You got swindlers that have been fined by the FEC allegedly, not really, that are running like the truckers.com or whatever the fucking net, or truckers.org. I don't remember what it was. But it's what was this? Fucking A. I keep getting all these. Would you like $15,000 for 5%? I get those emails every day or text messages every day. It's really annoying. But yeah, there's no big like trade organization that benefits truckers equally. In all reality, there should be a trade organization that benefits truckers and brokers, the small independent brokers, because those are the ones that care the most about the truck drivers. But, truck drivers believe that all freight brokers are evil. So it's kind of crazy. But it's funny reading about this and then hearing about like C.H. Robinson. I know early reporting from a big freight industry company reported that 1,200 employees were getting laid off. It doesn't appear that way. It appears at most 750 people with C.H. Robinson are getting laid off. And again, this sounds like a trucking show, and maybe it should be because I'm obviously I enjoy talking about trucking. But C.H. Robinson, in February, they launched a program which will actually automate some carrier reps' jobs, where it's a bidding platform and automatic tenders to carriers and stuff. And some of the employees back in news reporting from February, some of those employees were like, fuck, this software, this automation software is going to replace us. And guess what? Turns out it's true, because now at least 750 of them are looking for new jobs. There was some reporting that it was widespread VPs and senior managers and all that. Nah, it seems like it was mostly carrier reps that were let go from C.H. Robinson, the biggest freight broker in the United States. Now, mind you, there are other brokers. It's not the biggest one. I know some of the freight industry companies were saying that was the biggest layoff in freight broker history. It's not true. TQL in 2020, we broke it with Freight Broker Live. We broke that story. TQL laid off like 800 employees without any notice, just said, you're done. And they blamed it on a software error, that their software Citrix couldn't carry the load of all these employees. So they just fired fired a ton of employees, and they did it extremely suddenly. And I wrote articles that went super viral because they're such big employers. But it's kind of interesting when you pay attention to it. Everybody's talking about Twitter laying off all these people, not understanding that all companies are laying off a shit ton of people right now. Amazon, just in California alone, Amazon laid off hundreds. Lyft laid off hundreds. Medical companies are laying off hundreds. Car dealerships are laying off thousands because they're going bankrupt. It's happening all over the country, and the media is not really hyper focused on it because, of course, they're talking about the election. Fox News is talking about crime in the cities. Everybody is talking about everything else except our economy. Pretty much, we're not going to hear much about this story with the FTX and the cryptocurrency, which I'll probably talk about that more tonight when I have a little bit more time to research it. But not a lot of people are talking about that issue now because, well, maybe. We'll see. It depends what the stock market does today. If the stock market crashes and they can tie that to FTX, that'll be interesting. But just a brief rundown of what's going on with FTX. FTX was a cryptocurrency exchange, okay? One of the biggest ones. And the president or founder of that company, some Freed guy, was a huge Democrat donor. And yes, he did donate to Republicans as well. They say last year or this year, this election season, he donated approximately $40 million. $2 million went to Republican PACs, and then $38 million went to Democrat PACs. So you can see which one is leading. He was probably sending money to Republicans that are pushing cryptocurrency, stuff. But apparently, company lost I don't really know what happened. Apparently, they filed for bankruptcy on Friday, and at some time on Friday, it seems that the owner of this company or people under his direction had a backdoor into the cryptocurrency wallets, and they stole billions of dollars. And then the guy's like fled, and he's trolling people on Twitter. Like yesterday, the guy, like literally people's life savings because they invested in Bitcoin because they're stupid. are all on social media. And this guy apparently goes on Twitter last night and's like, "What?" Just writes the word "what" with a question mark, and the Twitter erupts. Everyone's like, "Oh my god, he's on Twitter!" Blah blah blah. And I guess he was playing like League of Legends or something yesterday, and everyone was going after him for that. But there's all sorts of weird stuff. There may be some weird shit about how if you donated, and I'm sure none of my viewers did it, but if you donated Bitcoin to aid in Ukraine, that it never even made it to Ukraine. It went to his company, and then he then donated that money to Democrats. Yeah, and so there's all sort. It gets so deep with this FTX stuff that it almost seems fake. You know what I mean? It almost seems just like this is something the government is putting out in an effort to take away from anything that's happening with the elections, or the fact that John Fetterman won as the senator and he is the new senator from Pennsylvania. Because even that alone is a little just like, how the fuck did that happen? And I get it. It's because Donald Trump endorsed a fake ass Republican to run. You know, that's just my opinion. But it's kind of funny when you pay attention to everything all at once, and you realize that so many people are so focused on taking one thing. Like there's this guy with FreightWaves, Craig Fuller. He owns FreightWaves. He's probably one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. In full disclosure, I used to work at FreightWaves. I was a broadcaster there. But he's probably one of the smartest people I've ever met in terms of freight forecasting and all that. He employs like the most intelligent people you've ever met, right? And so I follow him on Twitter. He follows me on Twitter because, again, I used to work for him. I've met Craig. He's a great guy. But he's been forecasting like the freight industry is about to explode for a long time. And for months and months and months, because there was all this talk about the driver shortage, right? That was a myth. Anyone who's actually worked in the industry, that actually works in the industry. We're not talking about people that are on sea level no, we're talking about people that actually work in the industry. You all know that's a myth. You know, and it's true. You do. Everyone knows. But this guy has been on Twitter forecasting. He's always on CNBC and all that shit too. But he's been on Twitter for months and months and months being like, oh, the freight industry is going to go crazy. Freight industry is going to go crazy. Gummo said, Steve believes Fetterwoman actually got those votes legitimately. I'm not. See, this is the one thing you're not going to hear me talk about. I'm not going to talk about election F. Okay. I'm just not going to do it. For one, we can't do it on social media. And secondly, it doesn't matter, because unless we put state reps in, because here's the thing. Like I saw someone say yesterday, oh, all the presidential hopefuls are not campaigning on election, integrity and blah, blah. They don't need to. They don't need to. 2024 presidential or even federal races, you don't need to campaign on election integrity. You know why? All those laws are passed at the state level. So I'm not going to talk about election F or what may or may not have occurred in certain states when you, the voters of said state, were the ones who allowed that to happen. You were the ones that sat back quietly as these stupid ass bills were passed or as election day became election season. That's why. That's why I'm not going to focus on it, because it's not the federal government that's overseeing those state elections. It's the state. So if everyone wants to be up in arms at election because the election doesn't go your way, because there may be all this, interference or whatever you want to call it, to me, that's a state issue. And you, as a citizen, you owe it. It's your responsibility. It's your civic duty to go and protest and to run for office on your state levels, your clerk levels, your state government levels, or to campaign to change those voting laws that you want to change. The only people that should be bitching about Fetterman winning in Pennsylvania, outside of the people that are just pissed because, he's an idiot, are the people that live and reside in Pennsylvania and that allowed the votes that didn't go out and weren't protesting and being loud and vocal every single time. Those are the people that should be the most offended by what happened in Pennsylvania. Same thing with Arizona. I'm not going to go out and say there's election F and all this. Yeah, it's fucking weird that absentee ballots can be sent in after election day and counted. That's weird as shit. But you know what? It's a law that you guys allowed to pass in your state. And it shouldn't have happened, but it is. That's it. Someone said, dude, it's worldwide F. Our votes don't count. They proved it. I mean, I just gave a very clear explanation of why I'm not going to be talking about any of that stuff on this channel, because I believe the power to change the elections happens in your hands. It is the thing that you have the most control of when it comes to politics. You have the most control because think about how many people that run for state office they're winning on mere like 1,000 votes. Your state reps, the ones that are passing these voter laws, that are holding the investigations. The federal government is not going to do an investigation into Ohio state law. They can't. It's not allowed. It's not permissible. A state is allowed to govern themselves. So if you want to affect those changes, and you want to get rid of tabulation machines, which are causing all the problems in Maricopa, you want to get rid of absentee ballots and mail-in ballots, which is what happened in Pennsylvania. The only way you can do that is by focusing on your state local office. To sit here and just blame everything on election F is bullshit. You can't do it, because in all reality, it's not election F if it's passed into laws. Do you know what I mean? And you, the voters of those towns and those cities, because it's even down to the towns. When they put in these voter tabulation centers, typically the counties get a choice of what contracts they have. So counties can make their own determinations on what tabulation machines to use, what electronic voting machines to use. In some states, the county clerks are the ones that have that power. Do you know what I mean? So I think a lot of people are just like being like, oh, we need to fight, for fair, free elections. But you're the ones that are not going out and voting. You're the ones that are not pressuring your local candidates. Again, it's not federal candidates that deal with the elections. Maybe it will be if Democrats did win the House. They were pushing for a federal election system, but right now it's on the state. It's on the state level. And look at what happens when a state actually gives a shit about their elections. Florida, look what happened. You got MSNBC and CNN scrambling, saying they disenfranchised voters because they didn't allow any of this crazy shit that's happening in Arizona or Pennsylvania or Michigan or any of these places. No, and that's the truth. People have to realize that, and I'm not going to sit here and talk about election F this and election F that, because here's the thing. If voting by mail or voting absentee is legal because you voted on it in your state, for example, if that was happening in Virginia, widespread, ballot questions and all that stuff, then I would have a gripe with it. I can't gripe about what's happening in Arizona beyond just complaining about it, because I'm not an Arizona voter. You guys that live there are the ones that could actually do it. Jeremy said, I'm not saying there's definitely F, but states should work to streamline voting counting so this will not take a week to declare a winner. Oh, there's 100% there's election F everywhere. 100%. There has been for years, and there will continue to be. And I'm not saying there isn't any, but I'm saying the major issues that are coming out of Pennsylvania, the major issues out of Nevada, the major issues out of Arizona, those are not due to election F. Those are due to the laws that people are able to pass. That's it. And if you want to change those things, guess what? Don't run for state or for federal office. Don't be a congressman or a senator. No. Run for your county government. Run for your state government. Start lobbying. Start raising money to lobby your state senators, your state congresspeople, your state delegates, whatever the fuck they call them there, and to overturn your voting systems in your state. That's the only way it's going to change. I said this after 2022, and nobody listened. Do you know what I mean? Someone said, I disagree. We needed Oz no matter how bad he is in the Senate, and that affects us all. We, the people, can only do so much when the Dems are in the majority and these bogus machines are broken, so to speak. Yeah, but I don't care about Dr. Oz. He's a fake-ass Republican. It was a stupid endorsement. I said it. Oh, my gosh, the almighty Trumpers are going to get mad right now because I said it was a stupid endorsement. It was. Donald Trump wanted to win that vote, and that's why he endorsed Dr. Oz. And guess what? He fucking lost because many, many people saw through it. Many people saw through it that Dr. Oz was a moron, and it was strategic. It's strategic. Look at the debate with Fetterman and Oz. All the mail-in ballots had already been cast. Anyone who realized that Fetterman was completely batshit crazy isn't able to change in their mail-in ballots. Everything worked. They got the Republicans in the GOP, and there was an issue with money and all that stuff. All of that plays into it. It's the machine won. The machine won. The Democrat machine won in Pennsylvania, and that's my opinion. That's my opinion about that. But and you may disagree, and that's fine. And I hope you do, but I hope you're just being nice about it, not being like, fuck, because in all reality, unless people care about their local elections, It's not going to win. You know, nothing's going to happen. Kathy Barnett was the one to win in Pennsylvania. I agree. That's who I would have voted for. Kathy Barnett. I thought she was a great person. I think she cared about politics. And I saw how the GOP was handling her because they knew they wouldn't be able to control her. They knew it. That's why they weren't throwing money. That's why they weren't throwing ads behind all these people. That's why, you know, J.R. Majewski didn't get a bunch of GOP funding. It's because they knew they weren't going to be able to control him. The GOP knew they weren't going to be able to control him. So they're like, fuck that. We're not putting this guy in. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Someone said, we watched Salty. Couldn't agree more. Run for state positions. Get in at the bottom. Yep. That's exactly what it is. Get in at the bottom. That's where you have the most control, and especially with your elections. And not to say I wouldn't have voted for Dr. Oz. I voted for Ben Klein. I don't like Ben Klein. The guy refuses to come on my show. He sent $40 billion to Ukraine, but I certainly was not going to vote for Jennifer Lewis. And I knew that if I voted for Ben Klein, then I would at least cancel out one other person's vote. You know who's? My significant other, my wife, who voted for Jennifer Lewis because she is a liberal. Doesn't understand her policies. She's like, she's a social worker. I like her. I'm like, oh, what she stand for? I don't know. So I'm like, fuck, now I got to go vote for Ben Klein. And I didn't want to. If there was an independent candidate or anybody else that would have been more qualified for it, but there wasn't. And I had to vote for him in order to cancel out my wife's vote. You know, someone said Peter Doocy front and center for Biden's speech. Yeah, Biden is giving a speech. I don't know if it's still live. I know he was planning on it.
Please. Good evening, everyone.
Oh, it just started.
Let me start with a few words about the recent election.
You guys want to watch this? I got to leave in a half an hour. I got to go pick up a rental truck to go get all that gym equipment. You want to watch it for half an hour?
The American people.
Oh, real quick, before this shit, do you want to watch the Biden press conference? Real quick, we have the best ever Christmas mega boxes available for sale right now on the angryturnup.com. And I am not joking. You're going to get 2 t-shirts. You're going to get a stocking, a patriotic as fuck stocking, filled with all sorts of patriotic patches, stickers, candy, veteran-owned products. You're going to get a special Christmas blend from Gratis Cafe that's not available anywhere else. That's going to be made exclusively for this. You're going to get a signed, personalized Christmas card for you, hand signed. I'm going to sign a Christmas card to you or whoever you put in it. And we sold a bunch of them yesterday. So if you guys want to get one of these Christmas boxes, the link is in your chat. You will get it by Christmas. We're going to ship out either on or before December 15th, all priority mail. So if you want to get it, get it. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I'm excited. And we're going to do the same TV giveaways. I'm in the stocking. Make sure you check your stocking thoroughly because some of them are going to have the gift cards, the Visa gift cards and stuff that I used to do. We're going to put those in as well. And I lowered the price. It's $100 because we're not including a sweatshirt. It's $100. Well, it's actually $105 because we're donating $5 for every box that we sell. We're donating to, you guys may remember if you've been watching a long time, we did this Rhode Island pack a cruiser with toys thing. We donated to them for the past 2 years. I'm doing that again this year. And so I'm donating $5 a box. So it's $105. So go over to that link that was in the chat. I'll put it in again. Order your box now. We're only doing 100 boxes. No more than that because I already ordered everything to go in it. So yeah, get your orders in now because we will run out of them. Okay. I promise you we will run out, especially because of how many people bought it yesterday. But you guys want to watch this fucker? Let's just do it. I don't have anything else planned for the next half hour. So let's all watch together.
Deepening our engagement with our closest partners and strengthening cooperation among our allies to meet shared threats to our own security and to their security, including the DPRK. And let me meet, I just met in person with Xi Jinping of the People's Republic of China. We had, we had an open and candid conversation about our intentions and our priorities. It was clear, he was clear and I was clear, that we'll defend American interests and values, promote universal human rights, and stand up for the international order and work in lockstep with our allies and partners. We're going to compete vigorously, but I'm not looking for conflict. I'm looking to manage this competition responsibly. And I want to make sure that every country abides by the international rules of the road. We discussed that. The one China policy, our one China policy has not changed, has not changed. We oppose unilateral change in the status quo by either side, and we're committed to maintaining the peace and stability in the Taiwan Straits. It was also clear that China and the United States should be able to work together where we can to solve global challenges that require every nation to do its part. We discussed Russia's aggression against Ukraine, reaffirmed our shared belief in the threat or the use of nuclear weapons is totally unacceptable, and I asked that Secretary Blinken travel to China to follow up on our discussions and continue keeping the lines of communication open between our two countries. Looking ahead at the G20 meetings tomorrow, we're going to be taking on the very issues that matter to the people's lives, not only here, but also our allies and our partners. That means tackling the suffering that Russian aggression has unleashed, not just in Ukraine people, but the people around the world, particularly food insecurity, and strengthening the fundamentals of our global economy for everyone. Support for debt relief, reforms for multilateral development banks, investments to bolster global health security, and to make sure the world is better prepared for the next pandemic. The G20 has been an important forum for the world's largest economies to work together for the good of people everywhere. And I'm looking forward to our meetings tomorrow. Now, let me close with this. On my first trip overseas last year, I said that America was back. Back at home, back at the table, and back to leading the world. In the year and a half that's followed, we've shown exactly what that means. America is keeping its commitments. America is investing in our strength at home. America is working alongside our allies and partners to deliver real, meaningful progress around the world. And at this critical moment, no nation is better positioned to help build the future we want than the United States of America. Now, I'm happy to take questions, and I'm told there are going to be 4 questioners, but I'm not going to do 10 questions from each questioner. All right? Let's make that clear at the outset here. And Ken Thomas, Wall Street Journal.
What a dick.
Meeting that you did not want competition to turn into conflict. Based on this meeting today, do you believe a new Cold War with China can be avoided? And specifically on the issue of Taiwan, you spoke about intentions. Do you believe China is intending to invade Taiwan at some point? And what warnings did you issue to President Xi if he were to take such action?
Well, to answer the first part of your question, I absolutely believe there's need not be a new Cold War. I've met many times with Xi Jinping, and we were candid and clear with one another across the board. And I do not think there's
he isn't candid and clear on anything.
Invade Taiwan. And I made it clear that our policy on Taiwan has not changed at all. It's the same exact position we've had. I made it clear that we want to see cross-strait issues peacefully resolved, and so it never has to come to that.
They have an incredible amount of noise in the background. You hear that? Every time he shuts up, the noise gate shuts it down. That's crazy.
I think the United States is better prepared than any country in the world, economically and politically.
Yeah, as we lay off thousands.
Changing circumstances around the world. And I think that Xi Jinping is. We agreed that we would set up a set of circumstances where, on issues that we had to further resolve details, we agreed that we have our chief of staff, the appropriate cabinet members and others sit and meet with one another to discuss the details of every issue that was raised, and we raised a lot of issues.
Fucking reading from a cue card. Bullshit.
Kim, Associated Press.
Mr. President, you met with President Xi, and you met with him face-to-face after he had unquestionably consolidated his power at home. So now that you've met with him face-to-face, how do you assess his sort of posture towards the United States now? And did you find him personally to be more confrontational or more conciliatory and willing to compromise?
Yes, Sue.
Neither and yes. Yes, I didn't find him more confrontational or more conciliatory. I found him the way he's always been, direct and straightforward. And do I think he's willing to compromise on various issues? Yes. I think he understands that. Look, I think, how can I say this tactfully?
You can't. You're an idiot.
I think the election held in the United States, which still leaves a little bit uncertain, has sent a very strong message around the world that the United States is ready to play. The United States is the Republicans.
Yo,
will
he
survive,
smokes crack like his
Democrats,
son. There's no way he doesn't smoke crack like Hunter. No
we
way.
in fact
It's
know
fucking
what we're
dude.
about. And so I don't get any sense that there's a more or less confrontation. We were very blunt with one another
Yeah, right.
about places where we disagreed or where we were uncertain of each other's position, and we agreed we'd set up, as we did, mechanisms whereby we would.
They were very blunt through translators. They had translators for their translators so they could decipher what kind of fucking idiocracy was coming from their mouths. Idiot.
Sebastian Smith, the AFP.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. It's extremely close.
What the fuck is AFP?
Yes, I don't usually talk that loud. Does the retaking of Kherson in Ukraine signal a turning point in the war, in your opinion?
No.
That the Ukrainians could realistically pursue their ultimate goal of expelling the Russians completely, including retaking Crimea?
No.
If so, does the US intend to support and facilitate that goal, as you've been doing so far with their other goals? Or would you perhaps see Kherson as a different kind of inflection point, basically a good time to start negotiating now that they've got some more strength than they had a few weeks ago?
No.
First of all, it was a significant victory. Significant victory. And I can do nothing but applaud the courage, determination, and capacity of the Ukrainian people and the Ukrainian military.
Yeah, with our fucking money.
Amazing. And I think it's hard to tell at this point exactly
if I have a brain left.
In terms of
whether I actually have any brain cells.
That we're going to continue to provide the capability for the Ukrainian people to defend themselves. And we are not engage in any negotiation. There's nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine.
That makes it listenable.
Ukraine. I think you're going to see things slow down a bit because of the winter months and the inability to move as easily around the country. But I think it remains to be seen exactly what the outcome will be, except that I'm confident that Russia will not occupy or defend Ukraine as they intended from the beginning. I can't have trouble reading this.
Because they're fucking stupid.
Bose.
President, quick question on North Korea, which appears poised to conduct a new nuclear test. I'm wondering if you can talk about your specific discussions with President Xi on that. To what extent do you think China has the ability to talk North Korea out of conducting such tests? And what are the repercussions for U.S.-Chinese relations if a test goes forward?
Well, first of all, it's difficult to say that I am certain that
everything for you is difficult to say.
Control North Korea, number one. Number two, I made it clear to President Xi Jinping that I thought they had an obligation to attempt to make it clear to North Korea that they should not engage in long-range nuclear tests. And I made it clear as well that if they did, they, meaning North Korea, that we would have to take certain action.
Hey, so human guy, thank you for your service, by the way. I'm not sure if you're saying it's embarrassing for you to write that comment or you're saying because I want to joke around while we listen to a moron that is leading this country. If you're saying that is embarrassing in whatever you said. So no, I'm sorry that you lost your hearing and thank you for your service. But if you become a producer on the show, that's where you could tell me what I want to do. I was only playing this to be nice to you. But thanks to, what's his face? I'm not even playing this anymore. Human Guy on YouTube. But again, thanks for your service. I'm not trying to besmirch your service, but you just ruined it. I'm ending this whole show. Fuck off. Just kidding. You thought you fucking won. You didn't win. No. But Biden is still speaking.
Of China, but it wouldn't be because of China.
Got
It would be
him.
because of what was going on in North Korea. So, again, on a number of these issues, we have put together teams where our National Security Advisor, Secretary of Defense, and others are going to be engaging with their counterparts in China to see, and we're not going to be able to work everything out. I'm not suggesting this is kumbaya, everybody is going to go away with everything in agreement. But I do not believe there's a need for concern of as one of you raised the legitimate question, a new Cold War. And I think that I'll conclude by saying it this way. I want to be clear, and be clear with all leaders, but particularly with Xi Jinping, that I mean what I say and I say what I mean. So there's no misunderstanding. That's the biggest concern I have is a misunderstanding about intentions or actions on each of our parts. So we went into, I look at my team, how long did that meeting last? 3.5 hours. So we covered an awful lot of territory. And I must say that he was as straightforward as he has been with me in the past. And I think that we understand one another, which is the most important thing that can be done. I guess all of you are going swimming from here. It's not far. But
Mr. President, what should Americans expect from Congress as it relates to abortion rights after the midterms?
I don't think they can expect much of anything other than we're going to maintain our positions. I'm not going to get into more questions. I shouldn't even answer your question. No, I don't think that. I don't think there's enough votes to codify unless something happens unusual in the House. I think we're going to get very close in the House, but I think it's going to be very close, but I don't think we're going to make it.
All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, you hear Jareen Claude suck a fart. Get up there and start saying, thank you, everybody. And he did take questions, guys. He did take questions, like 3 of them. Prearranged questions. Fox News didn't get to answer or ask any questions, even though they went all the way out there. So, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. That is the president of the United States. Right? I mean, technically, that's who it is. Anyway, yeah. That's going to do it for now. I'll be live tonight. Someone said Angry Turnip shirt. It's already available on the angryturnip.com. As a reminder, in the chat right now, we have the link to our Christmas mega box. This is going to be the best damn box you've ever seen. In addition to having 2 patriotic as F t-shirts, we're also going to have a patriotic stocking that's completely full of awesome stuff. We're going to have drinkware, special nutmeg infused coffee that's exclusive for you guys. We're going to be giving away TVs and all that like we typically do. But here's the best part. There's going to be a signed Christmas card inside each one addressed to you or whoever. During checkout, under order instructions, type whoever you want it to go to. Now, this is going to be a different box than I've ever done. My wife is already agreed, begrudgingly, to help me wrap each one of these because I ordered special Angry Turnip wrapping paper because I'm a dork. So we're actually going to wrap each box and then put the card on top, and then you can put it under the tree. And I don't want you to open it until Christmas. And then you're going to be like, oh, this is great. And because there'll be a personalized card in it and everything. So if you want to order that box, do so quickly because they're selling out pretty fast. We've already sold several today, sold a bunch yesterday. Get in there, purchase it now. And you'll have it in time for Christmas. We're shipping them all by December 15th, probably before that, but by December 15th, because I want to make sure you have it in time for Christmas. And I'll be live tonight at some point. I'm not quite sure when, but I have to go now and pick up the rental truck and then go pick up all the gym equipment and all that good stuff. So I will probably have a video later on setting up the gym stuff here because I'm pretty excited about it. But get your Christmas box now. Here's the best part about this box too. It directly supports me in doing the show. Okay, so if you want more stuff, you want more content, you want better stuff, and it's not all angry turn up stuff, guys. So you don't have to worry. The t-shirts don't even have the little logo. The only thing they have is it says T.A.T on the front because I can, and on the back it's a patriotic design. So, and I'm doing that because some people aren't into wearing big. And I'm trying to see if I can't still get the angry turn up. Someone gave me the idea yesterday of the squeeze ball. So I'm trying to get those, the stress balls. That's what they're called, to include. But yeah, I'll be live tonight. We'll be talking about everything that's going on in the country. No video games. I probably won't do any video games during the weekend, and I likely won't do them on the main channels anymore. And secondly, talking about the freight industry this morning, I actually had a lot of fun doing that. I think I'm going to bring back capacity today, and my morning show may be more freight related on a different YouTube channel. But because I like doing it, it gets me ready for the morning, But anyway, there's a link for the box. I will see you guys all tonight around 7, 8 o'clock, maybe. All right, we'll see you.